Christy was 24 years old, a passionate and vibrant model with a flourishing career. Hilda was 26 years old, an outstanding architectural designer who had just landed her dream job. They were both confident and full of hope for their future. However, after a party, they mysteriously disappeared. When they reappeared, they were ruthlessly abandoned at the hospital entrance and then passed away one after the other. The coroner found a large amount of mixed stimulants in their bodies. So what exactly did these two girls go through? Why were they treated this way? Let's travel back to 2021 and retrace the events leading up to the case. Hello, welcome to the Crime Documentary Files channel. Los Angeles, a name that needs no introduction, is the largest city in the western United States and the second largest city in the country, often referred to as the City of Angels. To its northwest lies Hollywood, the world-renowned center of the film industry, synonymous with American cinema. It is home to numerous film companies and a dream destination for many artists. Today's story takes place here. Christy Giles was born on November 4, 1997, in a modest family in Birmingham, Alabama. Her father was a retired military veteran who served in Iraq, and her mother was a gentle and kind housewife. As the youngest child, Christy was doted on by her parents and two older sisters. The family of five enjoyed a harmonious and happy life. Christy was naturally lively and adorable, with a pretty face that attracted attention from an early age. She also had a talent for sports, particularly excelling in running, often outperforming many boys. She started playing soccer at the age of 3 and quickly became obsessed with it. Over the next decade, Christy thrived in multiple areas. First, in soccer, she was explosive and fast on the field, playing in numerous matches and sometimes even being invited to substitute for boys' teams. Second, in track and field, her love for running led to remarkable achievements, frequently winning various competitions and making the county track team for 2 consecutive years. Lastly, in modeling, her charming appearance made her a standout in beauty contests, gaining the attention of many modeling agencies and earning her local fame. By 2011, Christy was 14 years old and facing a pivotal choice in her life. Should she pursue sports or a modeling career? After much deliberation, she chose the glamorous path of modeling. Christy then dedicated herself entirely to the modeling world, traveling and shooting in many countries around the globe, eventually settling in bustling Los Angeles to seek better opportunities. In 2019, Christy met her Prince Charming, Jan Cilliers, at an art gallery in Los Angeles. He was a photographer, 17 years her senior. They fell in love at first sight and quickly got married. Although Christy's family initially struggled to accept this, over the next 3 years, the couple traveled the world, exploring many beautiful places. Their relationship was solid, and they eventually won the support of her family. At 24, Christy was enjoying a blissful love life and a booming career, with her influence growing rapidly like a rising star. However, just when everything seemed so perfect and promising, tragedy struck unexpectedly. On Friday, November 12, 2021, Christy's husband had to go to San Francisco for work. So Christy arranged a girls' night out with 2 close friends. One of her friends was 26-year-old Hilda, an outstanding architectural designer. Hilda was born and raised in Mexico and traveled to 22 countries after graduating with honors before moving to the US to further her career. She was currently the chief project manager at an architecture and design firm, which was her dream job. She had only moved to Los Angeles in July of that year. The other female friend was called Cruz, though not much is known about her. Their plan was to start at a club in West Hollywood and then go to a warehouse party in downtown Los Angeles. A warehouse party is usually held in a warehouse or similar industrial venue, often on a large scale. The three of them arrived at the warehouse party smoothly and partied until around 4 a.m. on the 13th. From the scenes of them dancing, it was clear they were having a great time. As the party wound down in the morning and everyone was getting tired, it was time to head home. Cruz left decisively, but Christy and Hilda met some artists at the party and got along well with them. These people invited the two girls to another event at what they called the art house. The two girls, not yet tired and seeing that the men seemed decent, agreed to go. Little did they know that this would be a one-way trip with no return, forever separating them from the world. At 5 p.m. on the 13th, an unlicensed Toyota car suddenly appeared at the entrance of Southern California Hospital in Culver City. Two masked men threw a young woman at the hospital entrance and then sped off. The woman left behind was Christy, who had been missing for a day. She showed no signs of life. 2 hours later, the same unlicensed car appeared at Kaiser Permanente Hospital, 2.6 kilometers away. Another unconscious young woman was thrown out, and the car quickly left. As expected, this time it was 26-year-old Hilda. Although she was still alive, she was in critical condition. The hospital staff immediately began emergency treatment, but it was too late. She was diagnosed as brain dead. At this time, their families and friends were completely unaware of what had happened. The first to notice something was wrong was Christy's husband, Jan. He was in San Francisco on the morning of the 13th and sent a text to his wife to say good morning, but got no reply. He thought she might be tired and still resting, so he didn't worry too much. However, as hours passed with no response, Jan became concerned. He suddenly remembered that he and his wife shared their phone locations, so he checked and found that her phone was not at home, but at an unknown location, 8641 West Olympic Boulevard. He quickly called her, but there was no answer. Despite his growing anxiety, there was nothing he could do from San Francisco. When he saw that Christy's phone location was now at a hospital, he realized something was terribly wrong. He called the hospital and found out his wife was in the emergency room. He quickly flew to the hospital and informed Christy's family of the situation. Soon after, the hospital notified him that his wife Christy had passed away. Shortly after, news came from another hospital that Hilda, Christy's friend, was also critically ill. How could two girls who were perfectly fine the day before end up dead after attending a party? What exactly happened? Cruz, who had been with them, rushed to the hospital upon hearing the news, equally shocked by what had happened to her friends. Cruz told Jan that the three of them had a great time at the warehouse party, dancing mainly in the VIP area. Later, 3 unknown men who claimed to be artists approached them. After a brief interaction, Christy and Hilda left with these men for another party, while Cruz, feeling too tired, went home around 4 a.m. Jan immediately thought of the unfamiliar address where Christy's phone had been located, 8641 West Olympic Boulevard. His wife must have encountered trouble there. Desperate for clues, he posted the address online, hoping for information from netizens. Sure enough, the internet came through. The apartment at 8641 West Olympic Boulevard was occupied by a man named David Pearce, who claimed to be a Hollywood producer. He had been involved in several films and appeared in numerous photos with women, making him a public figure. Jan quickly searched for information on David and found that many people regarded him as highly disreputable. It became clear that Christy and Hilda's deaths were likely connected to David. Meanwhile, the police found footage from the warehouse party showing David and Christy dancing in the VIP area. Surveillance outside the warehouse captured the two girls leaving with 3 men around 4 a.m. At 5:11 a.m., surveillance at David's apartment showed 5 people, including Christy and Hilda, entering the building. They stayed there until 4:19 p.m., 11 hours later, when surveillance showed 2 men carrying Christy down the stairs and driving away. They returned shortly after to carry Hilda to the car and took her to another hospital. It was now clear that something terrible had happened to Christy and Hilda during those 11 hours at 8641 West Olympic Boulevard. The police quickly identified 3 suspects: 37-year-old David Pearce and his 2 friends, actor Brant Osborne and photographer Michael Ansbach. They went to the apartment at 8641 West Olympic Boulevard and found a black, unlicensed Toyota car there. Witnesses described this car as the one used to take the 2 girls to the hospital. The apartment was rented under David's name, and he had invited Brant to move in as well. According to the landlord, they hadn't paid rent for 6 months because David had claimed that water damage to the apartment had ruined his $40,000 computer equipment, so he refused to pay rent or move out. Upon searching the apartment, the police found it to be messy, with many women's cosmetics and tools for using illegal substances, though they didn't find any drugs. Despite the strong suspicion, the police didn't arrest the 3 immediately, but instead put them under surveillance and continued their investigation, needing more direct evidence. 2 weeks later, Hilda's parents, overwhelmed with grief, decided to take her off life support, allowing her to pass away peacefully. Meanwhile, the coroner's report finally came out, showing large amounts of cocaine, fentanyl, and heroin in both women's bodies. In Christy's body, they also found traces of GHB, a drug known as a date rape drug that can cause unconsciousness and memory loss when taken in large amounts. Neither woman had significant external injuries, but Hilda had abrasions and minor bleeding in her genital area, though no fluids were found. The coroner concluded that their deaths were due to a lethal overdose of mixed drugs, leading to poisoning and organ failure. With this evidence, the police immediately arrested David, believing he administered the drugs in the apartment, leading to the girls' deaths. David's friends Brant and Michael were also arrested. Due to David's criminal record and bad reputation, his bail was set at $1 million, while Brant and Michael's bail was set at $100,000 each. The police's theory was that David, Brant, and Michael met Christy and Hilda at the warehouse party, invited them to their apartment to continue the party, and then tried to advance their relationship, which was refused by the girls. They then drugged the girls to incapacitate them and sexually assaulted them, likely using condoms, explaining the lack of fluids and minimal injuries. For over 10 hours, David and his friends ignored the deteriorating condition of the girls. When they noticed Christy's weakening condition, they decided to take her to the hospital, hoping that if she survived, their crime would be less severe. They wore masks and removed the car's license plates. After dropping Christy off, they returned to the apartment and found Hilda in a similar state. To avoid raising suspicion, they took her to a different hospital. Although the police's theory made sense, convicting the 3 suspects based on it was challenging, as most of the evidence was circumstantial. Witnesses at the party mentioned that Christy and Hilda had voluntarily taken cocaine, which complicated the case. If the suspects claimed that the girls took the drugs themselves, it would be difficult for the police to prove otherwise. Christy and Hilda's families acknowledged that the girls might have used cocaine at the party, but insisted they would never willingly take strong drugs like heroin or GHB. They pointed out that both girls were aware of the dangers of these drugs, having lost friends to them, and were adamant about avoiding them. Moreover, the presence of GHB, known as a date rape drug, indicated that the girls were likely drugged without their consent. Christy's father, a military man, taught her basic self-defense, and if she had been forcibly drugged, she would have fought back. yet the only injury was minor genital abrasions, indicating she was likely incapacitated. The police also found chat records between Christy and Hilda at 5:30 a.m. on the 13th, less than an hour after arriving at the apartment. Christy said, "Let's get out of here," with a wide-eyed emoji. Hilda agreed and said she had called a car, which would arrive in 10 minutes. This was their last communication. When the driver arrived, no one came out, so he left after waiting for a while. It seemed that something happened in the apartment that made them want to leave, but they couldn't, likely because David and his friends prevented them. A neighbor living next door to David, who wished to remain anonymous, provided a tip to the Sun, stating that on the 13th they intermittently heard sounds of distress coming from apartment 8641 for at least 5 hours. Given that strange noises often came from that apartment and that David was not someone to mess with, the neighbor chose not to call the police to avoid trouble. Another neighbor, a 75-year-old, also described David as a very annoying person who frequently made noise and had a constant stream of people coming and going from his chaotic apartment. Additionally, the police uncovered that David was closely associated with a well-known adult film star, Ron Jeremy, who had over 30 sexual assault charges against him. This led to suspicions that David was emulating Ron by filming adult movies, targeting girls at parties, drugging them, and then filming. It was speculated that Christy and Hilda were his targets, and this time he accidentally administered an overdose, resulting in tragedy. After more than 7 months of investigation and compiling all the indirect evidence, the police finally formally charged David with 2 counts of murder. His actor friend Brandt was also charged with serious crimes. However, photographer Michael was not charged. His lawyer stated that Michael only acted as a photographer throughout the incident, following David's instructions to film a documentary titled Electronic Dance Music. The footage from the warehouse party was shot by him. The lawyer emphasized that during the final trial, Michael would serve as a witness to provide crucial evidence. Whether he was involved or not remains undetermined, and his case is still under review. Admirably, Hilda's parents donated her organs, giving new life to many others. Her ashes were taken back to her hometown in Mexico by her parents. At her memorial service, besides family and friends, many people who cared about her brought flowers. Her parents expressed their deep grief, saying they cried almost every day, but were grateful to God for allowing her to be with them for nearly 27 years. Although she is no longer here, she has given new life to others. Christy's ashes were divided between her husband Jan and her favorite place. Many people attended her memorial service. Christy's family feels the wound in their family will never heal, and they can only kiss and hug their beloved in their dreams. Jan, in his sorrow, stated, "She was so amazing and incredible. I have never felt love so deeply. I don't think I will ever love again." Currently, David remains in custody awaiting trial, with bail set at $3.4 million. Besides the 2 murder charges, he faces up to 7 other serious charges. These additional charges emerged after other women bravely came forward following Christy's death, with incidents dating back as early as 2007. Prosecutors believe David is responsible for even more crimes, but some victims do not want to come forward to avoid disrupting their lives. If all charges against David are proven, he could face up to 120 years in prison. David, however, denies all charges. As for Brandt and Michael, they were released on bail immediately and have consistently maintained their innocence. The case is still awaiting final adjudication. I will continue to monitor developments and update the comment section with any new information. If you enjoy my videos, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.